Hello again, my little conscripts, and welcome to another Mordian Glory video. In today's episode, we are going to be deep diving the recent changes to His Imperial Guard, the Emperor's true finest, that have happened with the Balanced Data Slate and the Miliatrum Field Manual. I'm not going to lie to you boys, this is a painful one. Guard has been hit with multiple nerfs. Some units have been double nerfed, and in truth, I think Games Workshop has actually made unplayable multiple guard units and guard playstyles. And so with that spicy take, let's hold on to our butts and dive right into this. First thing to mention is, if you're curious as to where you can find where these changes have taken place, it's over on Warhammer Community and it's under their download section for Warhammer 40k. So if you go to the Warhammer Community homepage, for example, you then go over to downloads, you then go to Warhammer 40k, and you can see recently updated, and we're going to be looking at the Miliatrum Field Manual here, and we're going to be looking at the Balanced Data Slate. GW has also, at time of recording, got an article on the front page. It's this one with the Sister Battle in their exosuits. Here's what's changed in the 41st millennium. Of course, this, and there's downloads here as well that will help. Of course, this will not always be on the front page. That's why I thought I'd show you how you can navigate there manually if you need to. There is a bit of a summary here over the various factions which have been changed and updated. So if you're interested in looking at more than just changes to the Imperial Guard, which is what we're going to be focused on, that's where you can find that information. With all of that said, now let's take a look at the Balanced Data Slate first, and we'll get to the points changes later. So on page 3 of this document, you can see the changes that have happened to the Astra Militarum. Astra Mili what? It's Imperial Guard, UW, come on. No one's buying Astra Militarum. So first up, we've got Bridgehead Strike Detachment. For those of you that don't know, the Bridgehead Strike Detachment is not one that's found in your codex. It is the free Grotmus detachment that GW released around Christmas time. You can see this is the detachment here, Bridgehead Strike. You've got Only the Best, which gives you reroll hit rolls of 1. And you've got a second part of it, which affected your Tempesta sounds when they deep striked or down, or when they came from reserve, or when they got out of transports, which originally gave them +1 to wound. There's a whole bunch of enhancements, and then you had a whole bunch of stratagems as well. So this was a free detachment available to everyone, and it was very, very popular. It was popular both with competitive players and with more fluffy players, because obviously being able to run like a pure Scion army is really cool. Scions used to have their own codex back in the days of 6th and 7th edition, and they always get a little bit of something every edition to be able to run a pure Scion army. And this was GW's sort of their tradition of doing that. However, it was very popular with competitive players because it was frankly very, very powerful. I wouldn't deny that. I'm not going to be running defense for Bridgehead. I think it was very, very strong. The big problem with it is that Scions only really had one weakness, and that weakness was they struggled to wound big things. As someone who's run pure Scions plenty of times before Bridgehead was a thing, I could handle almost any target except for vehicles and monsters, because you have to win like 5s, and when you've got 2 melter guns and 2 plasma guns and like a plasma pistol, if you're winning on 5s, sometimes you might just not get those wounds. And so what Bridgehead did is it gave you +1 to wound when you jumped out of a transport with Scions, and it also gave you +1 to wound if you were deep striking down. Suddenly wounding on 4s is, I mean, it's swingy, but it's way more like, I'll take that deal, I'll take that risk. And then it went even further, because Scions in the codex changed from having rerolls to hit as their ability to rerolls to wound. So suddenly you've got Scions that are deep striking down, they're hitting on 3s, which is fine, and then they're going to be rerolling 1s, because they're hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s. So that's totally that's accurate enough. And then they were wounding even the biggest targets on 4s with full rerolls. And then anything that wasn't a big monster, they were basically wounding on 2s with rerolls. It was a little much. And a lot of players were complaining that Bridgehead was just very uninteractive. You would move out, the Scions would mostly be in deep strike, and then when it came over to their turn, including turn 1, because they did have an enhancement that let them come in turn 1, and there was a stratagem where they could potentially get another unit to come in turn 1, because if their opponent went first at the end of their turn, the Scions could pick up a unit. And so that would mean if you have the enhancement plus the stratagem, if you went second to Scions, you could deep strike down with 2 big blobs of Scions with all of these buffs going off. And so it was very interactive, and it basically meant that one player moves out, the Scions deep strike down, and just blast them off the board. Scion players are going to get angry with me for saying this, but very reminiscent of things like Farsight Bomb back in the day. I know comparing Scions to Tau, the ultimate heresy, but guys, I got to call it how I see it. Bridgehead was overpowered, and it was uninteractive, and so it was going to get nerfed. It was going to get nerfed. Well, the nerfs have come in, and it's a lot. Bridgehead has been double nerfed, not single nerfed. It's been done. It's really been triple nerfed because they've nerfed one of the stratagems. They've nerfed the detachment rule, and Scions also caught some points increases, as we'll see later on. So the big one is that they changed the +1 to wound from coming in from reserve and getting out transports to +1 to hit. That's a big change because Scions weren't really struggling to hit. Hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s was fine. Scions' weakness was to wound. And so the whole point of Bridgehead was to, we're going to give some way for Scions to get around that weakness. And GW has essentially just backtracked that. They've gone, no, Scions, you're going to have a weakness. And that weakness is you're going to struggle to wound things. Now, you may argue that this actually isn't so bad. And I think it's important to look at all the different angles. Because now you'll be hitting on 2s when you come in from reserve with reroll 1s. So you're always going to go for first rank fire, second rank fire as that order now to get those plasma guns more shots, right? And you do still get reroll 1s to wound from your Scion datasheet ability. And if the enemy's on an objective, you get full rerolls to wound. So maybe it'll turn out okay. Maybe if you can just roll 5s to wound with rerolls, you'll be all right. A lot of people say that's actually the better way of having weapons these days. If you look at arguments surrounding the Lemurus Exterminator, people love the Exterminator, not only because it's got the ability to put extra AP on stuff, but also the fact that it's strength 9 twin linked. People are saying that like the meta weapon profile now is essentially mid strength, but with full rerolls. Scions have that, and they're still going to have plenty of AP with the fact that plasma guns are AP 3 when overcharged. Melter guns are obviously AP 4. So they're still going to have that. So maybe it's going to work out all right. But one thing for sure is that Scions have taken a big hit. I think the +1 to wound was phenomenally powerful. I don't think +1 to hit really solves anything for them because they were already fine in terms of accuracy. This is a big nerf. It's a big nerf. It's going to make Scions way less reliable. And it's going to put a lot of people off. I would not be surprised that with this change, plus Scions going up, I think it's going up to 70 points now for 5. And 140 points for 10. And the command squad going up as well. You're going to see a lot of people that just go away from Bridgehead now. Completely go away from it. And do you know what I think this does? I think there was a debate between Bridgehead and Hammer of the Emperor detachment. I think that debate is now over. The age of the Scion is over. The age of the Scion is over. The age of the tank has begun. So that is the really big change to Bridgehead. There is also an important change here to the firing hot stratagem. This is the stratagem that gives you extra AP on your hotshot weapons. It's now been changed to 2 CP. That's wild. So it only works when you're targeting an enemy within 12 inches. To be fair, when you deep strike, that should be fine. And it only affects hotshot lads carbines, hotshot lads guns, hotshot lads pistols, hotshot weapons. So it's not affecting plasma. It's not affecting melter. So the weakest guns in the Scion arsenal were getting an extra pip of AP. Okay, that's fine. It just meant they actually got some AP. Because most of the time the enemy's going to be in cover, right? And they made it 2 CP? I don't get this change. I always found firing hot was a nice to have. But I could be having a blind spot here. So I would say anyone that understands why this has gone 2 CP, if there's any like case studies of this being particularly good, or any arguments to be made why firing hot was broken and needed to be doubled in CP value, please let me know down in the comment section, because I don't understand this one, but I'm sure there will be some people out there that have more knowledge on this than me. But those weren't the only nerfs that we got in this balanced data slate. No siree. GW came after the Krieg combat engineers. Clearly, Games Workshop feels like they have sold enough engineers now. They've sold the starter box, boys. They've sold the Krieg box now, so they can nerf them. Krieg combat engineers remote mine ability has been changed to 9 inches instead of 12, and you need to be visible. You can't be sending it through walls and stuff now. And it now only does D3 mortal wounds or 2D3 mortal wounds if it's a vehicle or fortification unit. Essentially, it's been brought in line with the Kazakin Melter Mine. Obviously, the difference is it only goes off on a 3+. The Kazakin one goes off on a 2+. And now it's only 9 inches and you need visibility. Remember, I don't think you need visibility for the Kazakin one. I'll tell you what, let me double check. So here we have the Kazakin datasheet. Melter Mine, once per battle at the start of any phase, you can select one enemy within 3 inches of the bearer and roll 1d6 on a 2+. That immune unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So yeah, you don't need to be visible. So the Melter Mine, that can phase through walls. It can be thrown over the top of ruins. It can be frisbeed out, no problem. But the remote mine, it needs to be able to see, which to me doesn't make sense because it's a remote mine. Surely they'd pilot it round the corners, underneath the gaps, through holes in walls and stuff. I don't know. That kind of seems like it's... It's wrong. I mean, what's the point in that screen on his console if he can't see what he's doing? So, yeah, I think the remote mine should have stayed. You didn't need line of sight. I think it makes more sense for the Melter Mine to need line of sight, but there you go. Also, it's important to note that the remote mine can only be done in the start of the shooting phase, where the Kazakin Melter Mine can be done at the start of any phase. So that means that if someone charges you, Melter Mine, fight phase, Melter, well, not charge you because that would be start the charge phase, to be fair. But if someone start the fight phase, Melter Mine, shooting phase, Melter Mine, command phase, movement phase, Melter Mine. So yeah, the Kazakin Melter Mine is just way, way, way better than this thing now. Honestly, engineers need to go back down to their original points cost. They do. Why would you take engineers now? The Melter Mine is significantly worse. It's more limited. It's less reliable. And engineers only come with like what, a flamer and a plasma pistol? It's crazy. In less than a month, let's say in about a month, GW has taken Krieg engineers from being one of the most exciting, coolest, and best units in the Guard roster to a fluff choice in 1 month. I mean, that's like, it's not even 1 full month. It's 2 months of you actually being able to play them. It's 1 month of them, you know, coming out with the Krieg box set. Wow, how far have they fallen, guys? I don't want to go off on a big rant, a big tangent, but all I'm going to say is this is like a quintessential example of why people complain about 10th edition. Why would you get hyped up and excited for a new release if within 2 weeks of you being able to take that new model to a tournament, it's gone from being a great auto-include unit to trash tier? I'm sorry. In my opinion, engineers are trash tier now. You might think that I'm exaggerating, but I thought engineers were in the right spot when they did sort of the post-codex nerfs, and they were like, okay, they're going to go up to 70 points for 5, 90 points for 10. I thought that was perfect. Now, 70 points seems like a bad joke. There are a couple of other bits in this balanced data slate, but these are things that already essentially existed. But just to cover them quickly, Lord Solar Leontus can only order regiment units and squad units, so he didn't get to keep his data sheet awesomeness from the codex, where he was able to order everything again. I think that was pretty much already confirmed, but it's in writing here now. And Tempestus Aquilans got buggered. They can't deep strike in with rapid ingress and cook people anymore. So there you go. These things already existed. I think they're just being consolidated and confirmed here. But wait, there's more. Oh my god, we've been hit so hard. Oh my god. Jesus Christ. Because we've now got some points nerfs as well. Do you see any fucking green on this list? Nope. No, you do not. Only points nerfs. Jesus. Firstly, Games Workshop has increased the points of the Cadian Heavy Weapons Squad and the Catachan Heavy Weapons Squad by 15. That's nearly a 33% increase. Up to 65 points. They really, really don't want us to have a chance against assault armies, do they? I mean, really, they don't. So, the reason they've done this is because of mortars. People were like, sweet, I'm going to take like mortars again. I'm going to take like 9 mortars. And no one was really taking the Cadian Heavy Weapons Squad. It was just like, oh, in theory, you could take 18 mortars. But you were never going to, because 18 mortars requires a lot of orders to be even remotely good. I can understand the Catachan one going up, but again, there's so much to complain about here. It's difficult to know where to start. So firstly, Cadian ones just shouldn't have gone up. Even if they'd stayed 50, I think people, if they wanted mortars, would have just taken the Catachan ones anyway, because the reroll ones to hit, reroll ones to wound is just so nice. The ability to scout with them is just so nice. So yeah, the Catachan ones needed a nerf. The Cadian ones, literally, that's collateral damage. GW just hit them with the fucking AoE damage right there. But the big thing is, it's like, you're nerfing these units because of one weapon choice out of like 5 or 6. So heavy weapon teams can get mortars, heavy bolters, autocannons, missile launchers, and las cannons. I think that's all. I might have missed one, but so 1 out of 5 choices is good. So we're going to nerf the whole thing. Like, it's really... I'm not going to go on about this because I could just bang this drum. I could do a whole episode about this alone. But this is, again, it's a good example of the big problems with 10th edition. And I love 10th edition, and I play 10th edition competitively. I think it's done a lot for the game. It is, balanced and everything is better than it has been, even with these nerfs and everything. I mean, these are a bit heavy-handed. I think they've gone too far. And I'm fair with like saying Bridgehead was overpowered. I think they've gone too far with it. But this is an example of you need granular points. Because now, someone who was taking autocannon heavy weapon teams, which are they are not a bad option. They're the strength 9. Someone who's built their heavy weapon teams with like heavy bolters, or God forbid missile launchers, which are trash. But the point is, you've got all of these weapon options, which already like people weren't going to take them. Now they're just never going to take them. It's like, oh, you built something without mortars. Well, fuck you. Mortars are a problem, and you're gonna suffer for it. Whereas, if the base cost of a heavy weapon team was like 40 or 50 points, and then they were like, oh yeah, mortars, we're gonna put those up by like 20 points. It's like, okay, sweet. Well, I understand that you've done a targeted nerf against a particular piece of war gear that's causing a problem. That makes sense. And now I'm incentivized to try out some other things with my heavy weapon squads, or not. But the thing is, like, it's like now everyone is de-incentivized from taking any heavy weapon squads. It's a big problem. Like I said, I'm not going to go on about it anymore. Bring back granular points. It's needed to make sensible points changes. It's needed. GW, not every single unit. In fact, the vast majority of units have more than one weapon option. Not everything's a Primaris Marine where your squads only come with bolters or only come with plasma guns. I know I'm being a bit facetious, but you get my point. You need granular points so you can make intelligent points changes, points nerfs. Otherwise, this just comes across as very heavy-handed and frankly a bit stupid. And the big thing is, GW, it exposes the flaws with your game. And you don't want people talking about flaws with your game, because then people are going to start complaining about it and they're going to have criticisms about it, and that's going to create negative press and negative chatter. And you want people talking positively about your game, not negatively. Next up, we've got a surprising nerf, which is field ordnance batteries going up to 110 points. No, Games Workshop. No. Oh my fucking God. They finally got them right. Field ordnance batteries were in the perfect spot. They were 100 points, but they needed order tax. So they were actually they were more like, if you've got like a Castellan around, they were really more like 125, 130 points. That was the investment you really needed to make in them if you've got 2 fobs and a Castellan ordering both. That was the real points cost. And they were perfect. Because they were strong, but they were not broken. They were still only A+1. They still needed other things like hellhounds and exterminators or stratagems or siege detachment, incendiary shells, which couldn't be used all the time because of the fact they had to be used over 12 inches away. Like, they were right in the pocket of where they should be. Right in the pocket. Strong, a good choice, a go-to choice, a viable choice, a decent choice for guard players, friendly and competitive alike, but not broken, not overpowered. Not everyone was spamming them. They were just a decent indirect fire option, and you've nerfed them. And it's so annoying. You know why these got nerfed, boys? Bridgehead. People were taking a lot of fobs in Bridgehead because they got reroll 1s. And so that gave them just a little bit of extra reliability. It paired quite nicely with things like the sustained hits on the field ordnance battery. They were slightly better in Bridgehead. They were slightly better than they were anywhere else. But because we don't have detachment specific points. We should have not only granular points, we should have detachment specific points. People might think that's insane, but I think you need it. Because you've got weapons which are perfectly okay in one detachment. They're not terrible. They're still viable. They're still being taken in other detachments. And yet they're getting screwed over because they're slightly too good, you could argue, in another detachment. It's just these points are too inflexible. And it's killing me. And I've complained about this since day one. I've tried my very, very best to embrace and keep an open mind around these fixed points. But they just don't work. We need granular points. We need detachment-specific points. This system ain't working. It's creaking at the seams. The flaws are fully on display. And there's too much collateral damage. We need an overhaul. I'm calling for it now. And you might say I'm blowing through that proportion. And you could, yes, maybe I am. But I think it's an example. It's one example on a long list of many. In only this data slate, not even all the other ones that we've had in the past as well. So the big question is, are field ordnance batteries dead? No, but also yes. So no, because they're still okay. I mean, if you're taking 3 of them, you're going to be spending 30 points more. Most people were putting 2 field ordnance batteries in their list, so you're spending 20 points more. You can probably find the 20 points. So on the one hand, no. But on the other hand, yes, because of the artillery team. Because before, there was a good argument to be made that field ordnance batteries with bombast cannons. Oh, again, these are being nerfed because of the bombast cannon. The Milius rocket launch didn't get any better. The heavy lascan didn't get any better. But those two weapon systems are now being punished for the bombast cannon. So annoying. So annoying. Anyway, I won't go on about granular points again. But there was an argument that field ordnance batteries with bombast cannons and artillery teams heavy mortars were kind of comparable. And then, there was some math hammer done around it that maybe said field ordnance batteries eked out the artillery teams. But some people said it's not all about the math hammer. If you actually use them, there's nothing worse than rolling like a double one on your field ordnance battery, your artillery team. It always has that just steady D6 plus 3. So no matter what happens, you're always getting a decent volley, a decent volume out there. So there was arguments from both perspectives. And, field ordnance batteries were potentially able to spike a bit more, but a bit less reliable. Artillery teams potentially were less exciting, but a bit more reliable. Now I think I am team artillery team. There's a 15-point difference there. And the big question that a lot of people are going to have to ask themselves is, do I want to mess about because of these inflexible points? Do I want to mess about and to rewrite half of my army list just to find an extra 20 points? Because I can't just take the sponsons off of Lee and Russ. Oh, I've got 20 points. I'm okay. No, I've got to rewrite my whole list to keep the field ordnance batteries, or I could just put 2 artillery teams in instead and actually save 10 points. And if you're like me and you like convenience and, artillery teams are good enough, you're probably just going to go, I'm going to save myself the hassle, save myself the bother, and I'm just going to go over to the artillery team instead. Jobs are good. So that's what I think. I think FOBs still work. I think if you're team FOB, you'll have to find those 20 points. You'll probably be able to. But I think there's going to be a lot of people now which are like, I'm going over to the artillery team. And I think maybe the artillery team will become more popular than the FOB. But the real biggie... I mean, the heavy weapon teams going up was annoying. The FOB going up was annoying. But the real spice is these Scions, man. Oh, F in the chat, boys. F in the comment section. Tempestus command squad's up not 5, but 10 points. Oh. And then Scions going up 5 and 10 points respectively for 5 and 10 man squads. A Scion Gigablob is now 225 points. What the hell is going on? Ah, yes. Would you like a main battle tank? Or Scion Gigablob? Oh, by the way, Scion Gigablob doesn't wound as good anymore. Less reliable. What? GW, what the hell has got into you? I thought we were over this. I thought we had agreed no more double nerfs. I thought we'd agreed, one data slate, you would do one nerf. If that wasn't enough, you'd do the next nerf. But you kind of line them up and you communicated to us, oh, we've done this one thing, but we think they might need more in the future, but we're going to see how this lands. Remember when GW used to say that in Warhammer community? Remember when GW used to be like, look, we know this might not be enough, but we're going to try it, see how it levels out, and then, do another nerf later on if we need to? Nah, now they're like, screw it, bang, bang, get into the trash. This is like being back in 9th edition, boys. 9th edition, when rather than moderately toning stuff down, GW would be like, it's either overpowered or it's completely garbage. It's overpowered or it's complete garbage. They keep doing it. This is old school nerfs, and I don't like it. I like it when GW puts thought, effort, and nuance into their balancing. I don't like it when they utterly kneecap stuff. It's more than that. They're putting them in those they're putting Scions in the goddamn acid barrels from Breaking Bad. That's what's happening here, boys. Yeah, they're too expensive. Far too expensive now. Like, I would accept the points increase or the Bridgehead nerfs, but both is obscene. I can get a Lehman Russ Vanquisher for the same cost as 10 Scions without Command Squad. And I'm sorry, but that Lehman Russ Vanquisher is just better. It's the Scion Squad's got a plasma pistol, 2 plasma guns, and 2 melter guns. Okay, that's what it's got. That's 5 plasma shots and 2 melter shots at close range. A Vanquisher is going to get 4 plasma cannon shots, so pretty equal, pretty comparable, and then a las cannon and a Vanquisher cannon. So I'm going to have at a better range. So I'm going to have better range. My plasma output is equivalent because I've got blast as well, so it's more than equivalent. And then my melter equivalent is better because it's strength 12 or higher. And I'm on a tougher platform. It's mad. Why would you take Scions now? What, because I can deep strike? I don't know, man. I don't know. You asked me, would I take Scions or would I rather have something like a Vanquisher and Hammer of the Emperor that can essentially do the same role as Deep Strike and indirect fire? Just blast it 19 inches through walls and just fill something in on the other side with the crash through, the advance, and the stratagem that lets me advance and shoot, and with move. I can go 16 inches and hit you on 3s, or I can go 9 inches and hit you on 4s. With all that firepower, or can have like heavy flames and all that kind of stuff. It's no question. You'd go hammer, you'd go vanquishers. Of course you would. And tanks are easier to paint than infantry, so it's probably cheaper to buy. And it's probably money wise, it's probably cheaper to buy 1 vanquisher than it is to buy 2 boxes of Scions. Pretty certain. I mean, let's double check that. So a Lehman Russ is £42.50. A squad of 10 Scions comes in at £56. So it's cheaper money-wise to go down the Vanquisher route. Like, significantly cheaper. And what really annoys me about this is all because of Bridgehead. Which, let's be honest, was a free detachment. I paid for my codex. And my codex is getting screwed over by a free detachment that GW released. Now, I'm not against freebies. Don't get me wrong. I love a good freebie. But I don't want the freebie to screw over the thing that I paid for. What the hell, man? I'd rather you hadn't released Bridgehead. I'd rather you hadn't released Bridgehead and I could have just enjoyed my codex. But now my codex is being nerfed because of Grotmus. Like, that doesn't feel very Christmassy. That doesn't feel very Christmassy at all. And I know I'm flogging a dead horse, but this is just another example of the fundamental flaws, the cracks in the foundations of 10th edition. Scions outside of Bridgehead are totally fine. They're not broken. They're not overpowered in any way, shape, or form. They're just a good unit, but they've got weaknesses. They've got those flaws. And everyone is being punished because of Bridgehead. Our artillery's been punished. Our Scions are being punished. Everyone is being punished. And I think this is a big example of the difference between, like, Guard and other armies. Like, let's say Marines, for example. So in Marines, you have certain detachments where you have certain units which only really appear in certain detachments. So it's like, I'm only going to be taking, let's say, Thunderwolf Cavalry and a Stormlance detachment. So when GW nerfs Thunderwolf Cavalry, it makes sense because there's less. People may disagree with me on this, but there's less collateral damage. With the Guard, so many of our units are needed or are fine inside multiple detachments. Like a Field Ores Battery is just a generic artillery piece. And so the problem that I'm having with this is that because our detachments are a little bit more generic, and a little bit less specialized. They are specialized, but they're a little bit less specialized. You're having so much collateral damage. You're having so much knock-on effects. And the majority of guard players and the majority of guard detachments are being punished for a tiny minority, a tiny specialist subsect. And that just feels wrong. It feels wrong. So bringing all of this together, how do I feel about guard post Miliatrum Field Manual? I still think we're okay. I know I've been very salty, but I still think we're fine. We're the guard. We can pivot. We've still got Hammer of the Emperor. We've still got combined arms. You know, a lot of stuff in recon hasn't been touched. So I think we're still fine. But I just feel like we have been nerfed, and I feel we've been nerfed quite harshly. And I'm more pissed off than anything else. Yeah, I can pivot. And if there's one thing, you know, I know that there's the old saying, if there's one thing players hate more than the game not changing, it's the game changing. And I understand I'm ragging on the game changing a bit. No, I get that. But I just feel like this is just bringing to light some of the broader frustrations I have with 10th edition. And I'm not expecting anything to change with this edition, but I really, really hope in 11th edition, I pray, I'm literally praying, boys, please. Can we get granular points back? Can we get granular points back? And can we get, if we're going to continue with this detachment way of doing things, I think we need points for each detachment. The only other thing would be to have only certain units can be taken in certain detachments, which that feels pretty restrictive. It feels like it goes against GW's philosophy of no force org chart and stuff like that. But if you're going to do that, GW, if you're going to have multiple detachments, I think each detachment needs its own points. Because it's causing me, and I know a lot of people, not just in the guard community, but in the wider community, a lot of frustration. A lot of frustration. And as crazy as it sounds, more than anything else, in my opinion, frustration and annoyance will start causing players to look elsewhere. They'll start looking at the game systems. They'll start looking at other editions. People going back, playing 3rd, 4th edition. I know it sounds crazy, but that's what it'll do. Because why? Because people play these games for fun. Even competitively, they play these games for fun. And if something's frustrating, it's not doing its job. And so they're going to go and find something else that allows them to not be frustrated and not be annoyed. So that is my big takeaway of this. I think that these point changes do not spell the end of the guard. I don't think overall we're like suddenly trashed here. I think many of our very competitive and very viable playstyles are still totally okay. Age of the Tanks is here. Everyone jump on the Hammer bandwagon. Everyone jump on the Recon bandwagon. It's a smaller bandwagon, but it's still there. I still think there's... it's amazing they didn't touch Tauroxes. That's one thing I've realized. They didn't touch Tauroxes. What? There's still time, boys. There's still time. They'll get them next time. Yeah. So I think these changes feel a little frustrating. Guard's still fine. We've still got other big broken combos that we can go for, but they're just a bit frustrating, a bit annoying, and I feel like it's going to cause people to start looking elsewhere. But I think overall, Guard's still in a good place. We've taken it. We've had our knees capped. We've had one knee capped, but we've still got the other leg. Oh, and one last point I just want to throw in here. I know it's a bit off the cuff. I think what's causing the most frustration here for me, it's just occurred to me, is there's no points buffs. So because there's only nerfs, it feels all negative. Whereas if we'd had a few points buffs here and there, we could be like, okay, well, yes, some of our things have changed, but hey, here's some other stuff to get excited about. Ooh, they brought... I'm just going to make something off the top of my head here. Ooh, they brought Rough Riders down to like 50 points. Ooh, Horse meta incoming, maybe. Or if they were like, oh, they've changed it so Super Heavies can receive orders again. Ooh, maybe a good, exciting time to get the Baneblade back on the table. Or if they were like, oh, well, we've brought the points cost of let's say things like the Lehman Russes down, because people are loving the Rogel Dawns at the moment, so we're going to bring some of the Lehman Russes down. Do you want like 130-point Lehman Russ Punishers? And you'd be like, oh, Punishers at dirt cheap prices. They're still trash, but hey, maybe something to get a bit excited about, something to try out, to take the sting out of it. That's the problem. There's no honey here. It's all vinegar. At least that's what I think. But of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you think these changes were necessary? Do you think these changes have too much collateral damage? Do you agree that maybe they expose a few cracks in the system? Or do you think overall they were all necessary, all needed, all fine, and that guard doesn't really have much to worry about? Let us know what you think. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to smash that like button. If you didn't, go ahead and dislike, because to be honest, the YouTube algorithm can't tell the difference between likes and dislikes. So interactivity is interactivity. And also, subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.